You're really going to like this. It's a peanut butter chocolate square. So let's get started, and we're going to make this in the RV. Our ingredients are, we need butter. I'm using unsalted peanut butter, which I have the Kraft all natural peanut butter. You can use Adams, whatever your preferred. You can also use almond butter or any other kind of nut butter, whatever flavor you like. I happen to love peanut butter. Powdered stevia. I order mine from Amazon, and it comes from Hoosier Hill Farms in the States, and their products are amazing and inexpensive. Some powdered peanut butter. This is PB&Me, and it's the 90% less calories from fat than traditional peanut butter. And I know on keto, fat is what we're supposed to be eating a lot of, but it's the no sugar added. It's, it just keeps your calories down. You can also use the almond powdered peanut butter. It's not peanut butter. The almond butter. Vanilla. The salt, which I've got in the cupboard. And that's for the bottom of the square. So let's do that first. Okay, the first thing we need to do is cut 3/4 cups of butter. And I love the butter packages that have the measurements on the wrapper, because you don't have to measure it in a measuring cup and make more dirty dishes in the RV, which is something you want to avoid. So there's my 3/4 cups of butter. And then we need 3/4 cups of the peanut butter. And that is a messy thing. What I do is I take it out of the fridge, because you have to keep it in the fridge, a little early, just so it'll soften up and it's easier to measure that way. So I'm just going to grab my measuring cup. Okay, so I have my 1/4 cup measure, and I'm going to scoop out 3/4 of a cup. And put it into the pot. So we have the peanut butter and the butter in the pot on top of the propane. And we're just going to let that all melt together. And then we will add the other ingredients and put it in the pan. So you can see the butter is getting all bubbly in there with the peanut butter. Let's give it a little stir. And we're going to be adding the erythritol sweetener and the vanilla to this as well. So I'm adding the erythritol, which is powdered. You don't want the granular stuff, you want the powdered stuff. You can make your granular erythritol powder by putting it through your blender. This is looking pretty good. I think everything's kind of melted up there now. So I'm going to shut off the burner and just stir in the vanilla. So there's the 1/2 cup of erythritol and the 1 teaspoon of vanilla, all mixed in with the peanut butter and the butter, and it's all melted up and ready to have the powdered peanut butter added to it. And that's going to make it kind of like a thick paste, which we will put into the pan as the bottom of the squares. It takes 2 cups of the powdered peanut butter, and I've used up the rest of my almond peanut butter in the bottom of the cup. It's a little bit lighter in color, so if you notice that, that's what that is. And we're just going to dump that in here. Here's 1 cup, and we will get another cup. And here goes the 2nd cup of powdered peanut butter. So now I'm going to stir that up, and then we'll put it into our parchment paper lined pan. Now you can see how it has become quite pasty by adding the peanut butter powder. And that's going to be pressed into our 9 by 9 inch pan that I've lined with parchment paper. I don't always line it with parchment paper. Sometimes I just spray it with coconut oil or whatever I have on hand, and it works quite well too. So you don't really need to do the parchment paper, but I want to be able to lift it out of the pan to cut it. Here's my pan. I sprayed it with Pam, I think, before I put the parchment paper in, because it makes the parchment paper stay put. It doesn't want to lift up. See, it comes out quite stiff. Now you can use your spatula, you can use a spoon, whatever you're comfortable with, whatever you have on hand, to squish this into the pan so it's fairly even all around, and get it nice and flat on the top. And you want it right up to the edges, otherwise your chocolate, when you put that on the top, is going to run down the sides and it won't stay on the top. Now we're going to just put this aside. You can put it in the fridge if you want it to start cooling off. And then we're going to make the chocolate topping for it. So these are the ingredients we need to make the chocolate topping. I'm going to cut 1/4 of a cup of the butter and put it into the pot. 1/4 cup, the recipe calls for 4 tablespoons, which is 1/4 of a cup, and it's just easier to cut it from the block. So we're done with the butter. And we also need 1 ounce of the baker's unsweetened chocolate. You don't want the sweetened stuff because you're going to add the erythritol to sweeten it up. And out of these boxes, 4 squares is 1 ounce. So there's 4 squares and a little bit because it's already broken, and it'll just make it a little bit more chocolatey, which is always good. So I'm popping that into the pot, and I'm going to turn the burner on. Okay, so next we add, English side, we add 1 tablespoon of whipping cream or heavy cream to the pot. And we add 3 tablespoons of the powdered erythritol. And we're going to stir that up. And when that's all stirred up and we splash it all over ourselves, don't forget that step, we're going to add 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla. I never ever measure things like vanilla. I just use the cap, and I think, okay, the cap is about 1 teaspoon, that's about 1/4 teaspoon, and there you go. And then we're going to add a tiny bit of salt, a pinch of salt. So I'm just going to do a little bit of a grind in there. That's a good pinch. And stir that up. And that's it. Now we're going to take this and we're going to pour it over top of the bottom part of the square. Here is our base layer, and we're going to pour the chocolate layer over top, spread it around, so it covers the whole top. And there you go. Now we put it into the fridge, let it firm up. When it comes out, you can cut it into 16 squares, which is 4 by 4 in a square pan, and enjoy.